Merhabalar herkese. Hepiniz IFT Talks webinarlarına hoş geldiniz. Bugün İngiltere'nin en iyi üniversitelerinden London School of Economics and Political Science'da lisans ve yüksek lisans programları hakkında öğrenmeniz gereken tüm detayları Sofi'den dinliyor olacağız. Lütfen sorularınızı soru cevap bölümünden yönlendirmeyi unutmayın. Yes, Sophie, the stage is yours now.
Right. Thank you very much. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be able to join you. My name is Sophie Farmer. I work in the Student Recruitment and Study Abroad team here at the London School of Economics and Political Science. I specifically look after Europe as a region, so it's my job to meet with undergraduate or postgraduate students, both in person and also virtually, and talk a bit more about the university, as well as answer any questions about the kind of application stages or writing your application. Today, I'm going to be telling you a bit more about who we are at LSE, the kinds of programs that we offer, and then I'll also talk a little bit about both undergraduate and postgraduate experiences of student life, and then the application process for both of those study areas. There will be an opportunity to ask questions at the end, and hopefully I'll be able to assist with those. If I can't answer your questions, I'll certainly signpost you to where you can get some answers. But first up, really, is to kind of think about who is LSE? Who are we? If you haven't heard of us before, the London School of Economics and Political Science, we are a specialised social sciences university, founded in 1895 by the Fabian Society, essentially the same individuals who set up the Labour Party, the political party here in the UK. And there was a lot going on in the world at this time, politically, socially, economically. And these individuals wanted to understand why are things the way that they are, and how can they actually affect change through the subjects and the research that they're studying. So this comes down to our motto at the university, which is to understand the cause of things, to understand why things are a certain way globally in the world and how can we impact change for the better, and to study subjects for the betterment of society as well. So that is why we have a particular focus on the social sciences at our university. Now, some of you on the webinar may have visited London before, some of you might not, but if you have visited London, there's every chance you've actually walked past our campus because we are centrally located. So you can just see on that aerial shot there of London, LSE is based in an area called Holborn, right next to Aldwych, but we're 5 minutes away from Covent Garden, 5 minute walk away from the Thames. You can see just how close we are there. And actually, LSE, whilst being centrally located, is actually strategically located for the types of programme areas that we offer. So LSE is located in the heart of the legal district. So for anybody interested in law, we have the Royal Courts of Justice right next to us, various legal firms around us as well. And at the top of that image, you can see some skyscrapers. So Bank, our financial district, is just about a 10 or 15 minute walk away. So for those of you interested in economics or finance and accounting, amazing to have that network and that hub so close by. And then just off of the image, another 10 or 15 minute walk away in the opposite direction, you have the Houses of Parliament. So for any students who are interested in politics or international relations and governance, for example, or social and public policy, it's amazing that where LSE is situated, we are so close to so many of these employer hubs regarding or relating to those particular subject areas. And of course, this is London. So regardless of which subject area you're interested in, pretty much every sector in the world has some form of global presence in London, the capital city. So if you're also interested in management and business, for example, whether it's journalism, media and communications, very likely that you're going to find an employer hub in the city that you'll be able to network with, find out about graduate opportunities with as well. But you can just see where we're based in London. And Things to know about LSE really at a glance. Well, we're really pleased to be able to say that now for 2 years in a row, we've been ranked the #1 university in the UK by the Sunday Times Good University Guide. So obviously we're very, very proud of that fact. And that really can only be given to us, this accolade, through the excellence of our teaching and our research at the university, that we've been ranked so highly. So coming and getting a world-class education at LSE is very much an opportunity available to you with our ranking place. We are actually considered a small university. So we're 12,000 students. Now, that might sound like a lot, but there are other universities in the UK that might be around 40,000 students, 60,000 students. So actually, we really are kind of a compact university with that specialism in the social sciences. You can see the breakdown of the numbers there, but we're about 5,500 undergraduate students and 6,000 postgraduate. So we are slightly a more postgraduate university. You can also see the impact that we've had on students and alumni who've studied at the university. So 21 Nobel Prize winners have studied at LSE and gone on to make incredible advances in research that is having a global impact in many different areas. And LSE itself is also a member institution of the University of London, which is a partnership of 17 universities in the city. And this affords you, as students of the universities, even more opportunities. So, for example, at LSE, we have our own library, a very large library. It's the largest library in Europe based on social sciences. But we also have a library for the University of London students, the collective partnership. So there's Senate House, which is based in Bloomsbury in London, that all University of London students can access. Although LSE has its own accommodation available to students, there is also our intercollegiate halls. So you could be living with a UCL student or a Queen Mary student, for example, King's College London student, who are also members of this partnership. And additional housing advice that we provide through the University of London. But again, all services that just we alone as a university provide you as well. In terms of our offering and our areas, you can just see here the different department areas that we offer at the university. Now, in blue are all the areas that we offer at undergraduate level. And in yellow, you can see that we have some additional department levels for postgraduate study. Now, you've just heard me say about the makeup of our student body, how we're a slightly more postgraduate university. And that's because at undergraduate level, we only offer around 40 bachelor's programs. But at graduate level, it's over 140 different program areas that we offer. So you can see that's why we've got slightly more students weighted in that area. But you can definitely see here that focus on social sciences. And sometimes it's easy to say what we don't offer. So we don't offer things like medicine or engineering or nursing, veterinary science. You can see here we don't offer things such as arts or music or theatre, and very much focused around those social sciences subjects. So always worth bearing in mind when you're doing your research around the subject area you're interested in. In terms of what studying at the university is going to look like across different study levels, at undergraduate level, you're looking at a combination of lectures and then also smaller classes as well. So your lectures might be your entire cohort all together with the professor in front of you teaching you on a topic area. But your classes and your seminars might be 10 of you, 15 of you, could even be smaller. And that's much more led around discussion-based work and debating and talking together about assignments that you've been set or reading material that you've been asked to look over, and then coming together and discussing your ideas and your opinions on that as well. At undergraduate level, you could have anywhere between 9 to 15 hours a week contact time. And by contact time, we mean time actually with your professor, whether that's a lecture, a seminar, or a one-to-one academic appointment you have with them. We do expect then that the rest of your week you're focusing on independent self-study so that you are actually taking yourself off to the library and reading around the material you've been set, working on your assignments. You might have created a study group with some friends that you've made as part of your course, and you're studying together, preparing for any coursework, exams or assignments that are coming up, or just your weekly sessions and classes. That said, every Wednesday afternoon at universities here in the UK, there's no teaching at undergraduate level on a Wednesday afternoon because that time is set aside for things such as sports teams and societies and some downtime for you. Now, I've mentioned something here called LSE 100. So, at undergraduate level at LSE, we have a module called LSE 100 that all students study. Now, this module is set so that you can use your debating skills, your conversational skills, and you might be a politics student, but you'll be sat with an anthropology student, an accounting student, a geography student, management student, and we give you themes and topics to discuss. So, for example, last year there was how do we control AI and how do we create fair society? But you might be coming with your politics hat on, but debating that or discussing that with an anthropology student, geography student. It's a great way to talk about current themes that are taking place globally and looking at it from different viewpoints as well. And there are a few programs at LSE where we do also offer a language specialism as well, if you are looking to develop any language skills that you may have. At graduate level, in terms of what our programs look like, we offer a number of different program areas. So we offer diplomas, we offer taught masters, so Masters of Science, Masters of Art, Masters in Law, and you can see that they also vary potentially if you study full-time or part-time. We also offer research programs, and you can see that they last much longer. They're between 3 and 6 years. But generally, if you're interested in a taught master's programme, you're probably looking at between 9 and 12 months, so a 1 year taught master's programme, which is quite different from master's programmes generally offered in Europe, which are normally 2 years. In the UK, our master's programmes are very focused, but it's essentially the same number of credits. You're just doing it in a shorter amount of time. And you can see that the contact time is also slightly less there, so between 3 or 8 hours of lectures per week. And again, the rest of the time, we expect you to be working on assignments or your thesis and getting involved in kind of independent study. We do also have some executive programs. Now, these are for working professionals. So if there's anybody who's joined us today who maybe you're already in the middle of your career, but you're thinking about maybe getting a qualification to top up some level of knowledge that you might have, then we do have some programs and they're flexible because we understand that you are a working individual as well. So some of these may be online or they might be intense programs that you come to LSE for a shorter period of time. Why then might you consider studying at LSE? Well, there's a number of reasons that I can highlight. First and foremost, the excitement of actually getting to study in London, the capital city, and what an opportunity this would be. London is a multicultural city and is consistently ranked one of the #1 student cities in the world. I'm not sure if any of you know, but there are actually over 40 universities in London alone, meaning that there are over 360,000 students in the city. So not just LSE students, but students from various different institutions. And therefore it really is a student hub and there's so much the city has to offer you. So you can see that we've got music venues here, art galleries, different exhibitions you can be involved in, comedy, sport, theatre. London is considered 30% green. We have over 300 parks in the city. So sometimes you might look at it and think, well, gosh, there's lots of skyscrapers and it's very busy and chaotic. But there are spaces in which you can enjoy green space and mindfulness walks as well. But you also heard me say earlier how London is also a global central hub for so many different sectors as well. But a really enjoyable experience depending on what you want to get out of the city, where your hobbies and your interests lie outside of your studying. We are very much an international university. So we're 67% international at LSE, so one of the most international universities. So you can see that we invite more international students to the university than our own home UK students. And those students come from over 140 different countries. So that's the whole world represented at the university and over 135 different languages spoken on campus. So if you ever do get the opportunity to visit campus before potentially being a student, do listen out for the languages. It's funny how many you pick up just from walking through the campus. We also have over 100 regional alumni groups, meaning that after you've graduated from LSE, you can still connect with students who studied at LSE, previous students, if you're looking for a mentor or you're looking for someone who's working in a field similar to where you'd like to end up. You're looking for some graduate opportunities as well. Or you're looking for some in-country experiences. So actually still being in Turkey, for example, after you've graduated and meeting up with other LSE students. We have some fantastic opportunities there. And you'll also see there that we've had over 40 world leaders study or teach at LSE. So again, really making a global impact, those who've come to study and research at the university. And again, kind of going back to that motto and this idea of the betterment of society, people have taken their learning and research from LSE and then applied that back in their home countries to governance, healthcare, policing, being world leaders, for example, affecting change for the better. And just while we're on this slide about international, worth noting that in terms of Turkish students at LSE, last year we welcomed about 70 students to LSE from Turkey. That was about 25 at undergraduate level and about 45 at graduate level. Of course, even though you're thinking about your next steps in terms of your education, of course, another thing that's going to be on your mind is, well, where is this degree going to take me? How's it going to help me in terms of my employability and jobs later on down the line? So you can see here that we've got our central careers team who support you in a number of different ways. You can see resources that are available online. You can see that we run career events, so career fairs, bringing employers onto campus to meet you where they present about the type of work and field of work that they might be in. But one thing that I think is particularly special that we offer at LSE is one-to-one careers consultant appointments. And there is no cap on the number of appointments that you can have whilst you are a student. So whether that's just to talk through your ideas about career planning, your aspirational goals, it could be looking at your CV or cover letter writing. One thing that I think is particularly fantastic is that if you have identified a job you would like to apply for or an internship you would like to apply for, if you provide the job specification to the careers consultant, they will create a mock interview for you based on the very job you wish to apply to, meaning you actually get to rehearse and practice your answers and get real-time feedback on how to be the best possible applicant when you are eventually in that room for that interview. So you can see so much support there is available to you to ensure that you've got the best opportunities open to you when you graduate. You can just see here also some examples of different types of sectors that students have gone and worked in. And there might be some surprising ones there as well. You can see that we've had students go into media, entertainment, for example. LSE recently published a blog, if any of you have seen it, about people who studied at LSE who've gone to work in arts and entertainment. So maybe you didn't know, but Mick Jagger studied at LSE, for example, or our national treasure David Attenborough studied at LSE. But all different manner of careers that people have spanned. And if you scan that QR code, you can drill down further into, well, if I study this degree, what have people gone on to then work in, or sectors or employers are they working with if they've studied the degree that I am interested in? We're also, of course, really big on teaching and research at the university. And this is where I'd like to highlight our public lecture series. So every year, LSE organises over 200 public lectures where we bring notable speakers onto campus to talk about current affairs and global issues as it relates to that particular subject area. This is a fantastic thing that you now can be involved in, whether you're interested in undergraduate study or postgraduate study, because we also record these and publish these as podcasts as well. So if you can't come in person to these lectures, which take place on LSE campus, you can listen to the recordings. And we've had some fantastic sessions. So last year, we had the President of Finland, Alexander Stubb, come and give a presentation looking at European politics, for example, and he is actually an LSE alum. We've also previously had Anthony Scaramucci, if that name rings a bell. He was the former communications director of the White House during Trump's first term as president. Imagine having an individual like that come and talk about American politics, but also his time in the White House. So some really, really interesting and fascinating individuals who you can meet and network with even after they've presented when you attend these in person. I'm just going to now talk a little bit about the actual application process, both for undergraduate and postgraduate as well, and some things you may want to consider or know about as in terms of your forward steps. So if you are interested at an undergraduate level and you want to apply to LSE, you apply via UCAS, our centralised admission service in the UK. But something to be aware of when it comes to entry requirements, I'm afraid we no longer accept the Turkish school diploma as entry to LSE. So you do need to be studying an international qualification. So I've given some examples here, such as the International Baccalaureate, or you might be studying APs, for example, but I'm afraid we can't accept the Turkish school diploma alone. So this is something to do your research on and be prepared about if you are interested in applying to the university. One big element of your application to the university is going to include something called a personal statement. This is where you answer 3 questions, but if you pull those 3 questions together, it's about 4,000 characters. And you answer 3 questions where you essentially tell us why you are interested in this subject area, why you're applying to study it further, what skills and achievements do you already have that relate to this subject area, and how are you furthering your interest in this subject outside of the classroom, and then any other additional information that you want to tell us about how you're a well-rounded individual, but why you should essentially be given a place to study this subject. Now, really, 80% of your personal statement needs to be academically focused, which means that your answers to questions 1, 2, and even maybe overflowing a bit into question 3 should really be focused on the subject area. In the UK, we're far more interested in learning about why you're interested in the subject and what skills and experiences and kind of further activities you've been involved in that relate to the subject. This in the UK is called supercurricular activity, as opposed to extracurricular, where maybe you talk about tennis or musical ability. We're more interested in what additional reading have you done around your subject? Have you done any work experience or internships that relate to this area? Have you attended any academic summer schools or taster lectures or online courses to upskill yourself? All of these things make for a far more interesting personal statement and understanding your suitability for being given a place to study this subject for another 3 years at university. At graduate level, things you need to be aware of. So you can see this is what we would need if you were interested in applying for a taught or a research degree at the university. So really, if you're interested in a taught master's degree at LSE, you need to have the equivalent of a first or a 2-1 in the Turkish system if you've studied in Turkey for your undergraduate degree. You can find the equivalencies on our website. So a top tip here for all students on the call is that if you just type into Google or Safari LSE Turkey, we have a dedicated webpage for Turkish students which tells you all about the qualifications that we do and don't accept, and also the equivalencies as well. So what the Turkish equivalent would be to a UK first or 2-1. If you're interested in research degrees as well, you can also see what we'd be looking for. Something to be aware of at graduate level is it's very likely we're going to require potentially some additional tests. So that could be the GRE or the GMAT for some of our programs, and very likely that we're going to need English language test proficiency as well. So these are things that, of course, if you know about them ahead of time, you can prepare and make sure that you've taken these tests because you'll need to have them at the point of application. For graduate level, you apply directly to the university. So instead of the UCAS system for undergraduate, you apply directly to us via our website. So you provide an online application, you fill in the form, you provide supporting documents such as your CV. You too also write a personal statement, though it's called a statement of academic purpose, or a research proposal if you're interested in one of our research degrees. We'll need 2 references, so 2 current professors or professors who previously taught you who can speak to your suitability to this master's programme as well. And at graduate level, we have rolling admissions, meaning that there isn't a deadline by which you need to apply for, but we do advise early application, and applications normally open around October time. Like I just mentioned, at graduate level, you do also have a statement that you need to provide, where essentially, again, you tell us why you're applying for this degree programme, how you foresee this master's degree helping you with your career and aspirational goals as well. We want to understand your interest, your suitability to your program, and the purpose and objective of you taking on this master's and how that's going to help you in your career trajectory as well. I should say that for both undergraduate and postgraduate students on the call, we have really comprehensive guidance and advice on how to write your personal statement or statement of academic purpose on our website. So please do go to our web pages. You'll see lots more information about how to structure your thoughts on how you write this particular piece of document for your applications. In terms of fees and financial support at LSE, we've got this QR code here, so feel free to scan it. But EU students do now pay a full international fee since Brexit. So you would be potentially paying international fees. So you do need to be aware of what these costs are. If you look up the subject area you're interested on our website, you will also then see the tuition fee cost as well, both for undergraduate and for postgraduate as well. In terms of living costs, generally, we would advise when you're studying at a London university, anywhere between £1,500, £1,700 per month. Now, that's going to be or include your accommodation, your food, your travel across London, any resources that you might need to buy for your program that you're studying, or field trips, for example, as well as a social life as well. So that really does capture everything that you would need in terms of living in London. That said, you will of course meet students who will get by on less than that, and other students who might say that they feel that they need more than that. So it's all about kind of how you choose to live in London, budgeting skills, for example. But we offer workshops at the university around money management, budgeting, these sorts of things. And if anything, the best time to live in London really is when you're a student, because you can access things such as student deals, student discounts, for example. Many things can be free for students in terms of your social aspects, museums, exhibitions, or discounted rates. So actually, the best time to experience London is actually by being a student, but you can see average costs there. In terms of scholarships or support that we are able to offer, at undergraduate level, we have something called the Undergraduate Support Scheme. And at graduate level, we've got something called the Graduate Support Scheme. This is open to all students to apply to. Unfortunately, we can't give it to everybody. We wish that we could. But this is means tested, not merit based. So this isn't based on your academic achievements. This is based on who needs the financial aid the most in order to access education at LSE, but it's the most open in terms of any UK or international student can at least apply to have some partial funding through those schemes. We do have some specific scholarships, whether that's run by the department specifically or a programme, and we do also offer PhD studentships. So again, you've got a QR code there that's going to take you to a webpage that tells you all about the different scholarship offerings we have. We do generally advise, though, that you should always also look to your home country and see if there are any government schemes available, any charity schemes available, any private schemes available, and just have a look and see if there are any other organisations who are able to support you financially if you're looking for that aid in terms of your tuition fee. But all of that information is available on our website. And finally, I'll just highlight here other ways in which you can engage with LSE before I start taking some of your questions. So you can see here we've put meet LSE anywhere where we are in the world, and quite often LSE will attend the IEFT fairs, normally during the springtime if you want to meet us in person. If you happen to be in London, whether that's for a vacation or a focused visit because you're looking at universities, you can always book onto one of our campus tours. So our campus tours take place every Wednesday afternoon. Just try and get some light back in here. There we go. So our campus tours every Wednesday afternoon, which you can book onto in advance. These are led by current students, so you are able to ask them questions as they walk you around campus and tell you about the facilities and their experiences. If you're unable to come specifically on a Wednesday afternoon, we do have a self-guided tour map available on our website, and our campus is open to the public, so you can walk onto campus on any day, use the self-guided tour map and walk yourself around our campus. You might not be able to get into some of our buildings, but you can certainly get a sense of our campus and where our buildings are located. Also worth noting that every day, Monday to Friday, between 11 a.m. and 12 p.m. UK time, we offer a drop-in desk as well. So if you happen to be on campus or in London, you can come to the desk during that time. You don't need to book in advance, and you can ask questions relating to the university or your application, for example, or any advice. I mentioned earlier our public lecture event series, so please do, if you take anything away from this presentation, have a look at that or some previous podcast recordings. It's remarkable some of the individuals that you get to hear from speaking about really current and global issues as well. And for any questions that you would like to ask admissions or the student recruitment team, for example, you can also contact us daily, Monday to Friday, between 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. UK time. So I believe that's 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Turkish time, on something called a live chat. So you can speak to members of our team. I do a shift every Friday. And any questions that you want to ask, maybe about entry requirements or the application process, you can ask those directly to us as well. So many ways in which we can still answer your questions. With that, I'll end the presentation there, but I'm very happy to take questions from anybody in the audience. So I shall have a look at the Q&A and see what questions we have here. Okay. Oh, lovely. It's nice to see you all engaged and typing in questions. So, how easy is it for international students to build a social network outside of their own nationality group? Really easy, depending on your hobbies and your interests and who you get to meet on campus. So, yes, we do have societies based on nationality. You could join the Turkish Society, for example, but of course, you can join a whole array of different societies or sports teams, meaning that you meet other students. And of course, you'll then meet students across different study levels as well. So you might decide to join the baking society, the ballroom dancing society, the tennis team, the dodgeball team, and you get to make friends with so many other people as well. So I would say it's really easy to build a kind of social community with other students. Of course, also those potentially who you live with as well, if you decide to live in LSE halls or intercollegiate halls as well. So I really do think, students at LSE have a fantastic opportunity meeting and becoming lifelong friends with people from all over the world, not just based on their nationality. What makes a successful applicant stand out? Fantastic question. I would say when it comes to writing your application, don't be afraid to showcase your own opinions or your own thoughts as well. So, for example, if you mention that you've read a particular book or a journal that you found interesting or it relates to your subject area, what was the benefit of reading that particular material? Why are you telling us about this? Be reflective. And it's okay for you to say, well, I read this book by this famous economist, and I actually disagree with this idea. And that really fueled my interest in this area, which led me on to read about this particular theory. So don't be afraid to show your own opinions and ideas around your subject area. We are looking for change makers at LSE, those who are going to go on and affect change and really get involved in research and studying the subject area. So don't be afraid to show that as part of an application. Not really question. Aha. So a question about summer schools. I'm afraid at present we don't offer a summer school for high school students. So our summer school is set at a slightly higher age range. So the earliest you can join the summer school is at 18 years old, and you have to be holding an offer of study. It doesn't have to be with LSE, but with a university. We generally find that really what we're getting are students who are studying undergraduate degrees elsewhere who would like to experience teaching at LSE. So of course they are a slightly older age group, but I'm afraid at present we don't have any plans to run any summer schools for high school students or for international at that age level. I do understand though that other universities do, so it's well worth looking at what universities provide in terms of taster lectures, academic summer schools as well, to get that experience, especially if it relates to your subject area. Is an SAT score acceptable? Great question. So if you are an undergraduate student and you are studying APs, you don't need to sit the SAT score, the SAT test. That said, If you do sit the SAT test, you do need to declare this as part of your application. You can't just not let us know. So you do need to let us know that you've taken this test or that you're preparing for the test. And at LSE, we are looking for a 1450 plus on the SAT if you decide to take it. But so long as you have the minimum of 5 APs at grade 5, then you don't need to sit an SAT in order to complement that qualification. Hasn't the UCAS personal statement been reformed? Yes, so when I talk about questions, the UCAS statement at undergraduate level used to just be one long statement, whereas now it's 3 questions. But effectively, you're answering or submitting the same information that you would have done as part of that one statement. You're just spreading it across the 3 questions in your answers. So question 1 is essentially, why are you interested in this subject? Why are you applying for this subject area? Where's that interest come from? Question 2 is telling us about your skills and your achievements and your experience around this subject area, how you're furthering your interest in this subject. And then question 3 is kind of for any other information. But at LSE, we would really see that maybe more as an overflow from question 1 and question 2, where I highlighted that we're particularly interested in hearing about supercurriculars. So you may choose to talk about a work experience or an internship at that point, or any other supercurriculars you'd like to let us know. What are the most common reason applicants are not admitted? Interesting question. Not something that I can particularly speak to, but what I would say is, as I'm sure some of you are aware, is that LSE is a highly selective university, meaning that we receive far more applications than I'm afraid that we can give places to. So sometimes we do have to say no to students who are great students, fantastic students. We just don't have enough places at the university to give them to everybody. So it might not be so much that there's a reason as such. They might be a very good student or have at least a strong application, but the competition for places at LSE can be quite fierce on some program areas, but it's generally quite competitive. Certainly at undergraduate level, as an example, is that last year we received over 30,000 applications at undergraduate level for just 1,800 places. So you can see, really, we are getting applications from all over the world, really great students. We just can't say yes to everybody. So that sometimes is the reason why we have to say no. How easy is it for international students to find part-time work or internships? This is London, so there's every opportunity to find some part-time work, for example, whether that's through retail or shift work or working as part of a cafe, for example, a catering job. At the university, we also have a student ambassador scheme, so you can be paid for representing the university, where you deliver things such as the campus tours, or you work the open days, or maybe you're on a webinar about student life, sat on a student panel as well. So yes, absolutely. The thing to note, though, is that as international students, you will be at the university on a student visa. And so that does cap the number of hours that you can work per week. So during term time, you can't work any more than 20 hours per week. So that's just something to be aware of. Uh, Got a question here about transfers. Great question. I'm afraid at LSE we have quite a strict policy on no transfers. So this would be if, unless it was rare and exceptional circumstances. So really it's easy to say that we do just have a strict policy of no transfers, meaning that you wouldn't be able to start your undergraduate degree at another university and then transfer to LSE to continue or the remainder of your studies. So you would then have to apply to the university from the beginning year. So you'd have to restart essentially if you were interested in applying. We don't do transfers, I'm afraid. That said, if you want to experience LSE as part of your degree, we do have our study abroad team and exchange possibilities. So we do have partnerships with various different universities across the world. But we also have our 1-year study abroad program at LSE, which is called the General Course. So if you're interested in this, I would definitely have a look at this on our website, because you could come to LSE for 1 year. And that's not the same as doing a transfer, but of course you do get to experience LSE. I can see we've got a question here about examples of kind of super curricular activity, things like if you're interested in politics or being involved in Model UN. Absolutely, this is an example that we see quite often, students who are involved in Model UN at undergraduate level. The main takeaway that I would say for undergraduate students when it comes to talking about super curricular activity is that so long as it relates or you can reflect on it and how it's kind of it relates to your subject area, then it can be considered a super curricular activity. So if you can remember anything, try and remember ABC. A stands for activity, so the thing that you're mentioning, whether that's you've read a book, you've organised a conference, you've been involved in Model UN. B, think about the benefit. What was the benefit of doing that activity to you? And what's the benefit of you mentioning it to us? What are you actually trying to tell us about either your skill set or your understanding for this subject area or challenging ideas? And then C, relating it back to the course. That's why I'm interested in politics. So if you can ABC something and relate it to your subject area, you can be reflective and talk about the benefits of doing a particular thing, then certainly it probably can be considered a super curricular activity. If you're just mentioning it for the sake of mentioning it, or it's not related to your subject area, it might be more that it's an extracurricular activity. An example of this would be sometimes where students say, well, I can speak 10 languages. Well, that's fantastic. But if you're applying for mathematics, how does that relate to the program area? Maybe you're only mentioning it because you think it sounds impressive, or you're just trying to tell us lots of pieces of information about you. Whereas if you were applying to another university, let's say for a linguistics program, we absolutely understand why you might mention about your language skills. And I'm sure that you could ABC that and talk about the benefit and then talk about how it relates to the program area. So try and think about the ABC model when you're looking at your supercurriculars and what to include in your personal statement. I'm very aware that we just have a minute left before the webinar finishes. I can see I've got a question here about how the university supports students in securing employment after graduation. Well, for starters, one of the fantastic things about LSE is that even after you've graduated, you still have access to our careers support. So you've still got access to the resources online. You're still able to meet with careers as well. So that support doesn't just stop as soon as you've graduated. So if you are looking for additional support from the careers team, you are able to do so. But this is also where the alumni networks come in as well, where it's really great that you have got a group of people who studied at LSE before across numbers of different years, recent graduates, people who graduated 20 years ago, to introduce you maybe to different employers or running different events, either in country or online. But there is lots of support available when it comes to finding employment afterwards. Should maybe also say at this stage that in the UK, we have something called the graduate route visa. So if you're an undergraduate or even graduate student, once you've graduated from the university, you can apply then for a new visa, which allows you to stay in the UK for an additional 18 months after graduating. So it gives you that additional time to do things such as job searching, applying for jobs. You might have already secured one and therefore want to then do the internship or the job. And that visa will cover you for 18 months staying in the UK, but it's not set on you having secured a job or having a salary. So it's a great opportunity to continue staying in London or in the UK and then using that time for things such as finding jobs or internships. And I believe I'll end there. So thank you. I know there's plenty more questions, but we're not going to have time to get to all of them as the webinar is now coming to a close. So I just want to thank you all for your engagement and your fantastic questions. For the questions I haven't been able to answer or get round to, please do visit our website. There's lots of comprehensive information available there. You've seen me mention earlier the different ways in which you can either visit us or communicate with us to ask us your questions. And it's been a real delight presenting to you today. So thank you all very much for joining.
Yes, thank you very much for the great presentation, Sophie. It was very beneficial for the attendees and you covered the questions. Thank you for your answers as well. And also I would like to thank the participants in Turkish too. Katıldığınız için teşekkür ederiz arkadaşlar. Umarım sizin için de faydalı bir webinar olmuştur. LSE ile ilgili diğer sorularınız için ekranda görmüş olduğunuz linkler üzerinden de yine sorularınızı sorabilir ve inceleyebilirsiniz. Bir sonraki webinarlarımızda görüşmek üzere. Thank you very much again, Sophie. It was a pleasure to have you in our IFT talks.
Thank you very much. So bye everyone. Have a lovely rest of the day.
Take care. Bye bye.